All right, we're coming up on the end of our tactical conversation, or conversation on tactics. It's also tactical. But you can't talk about tactics without talking about concession theory. I'm going to give you 3 approaches to the tactical world of compromise. The takeaway for this section: you walk in knowing that you will have to make concessions and you're going to have to give in on some demands. We spoke earlier about setting ambitious L positions, ambitious opening positions, and your L is your opening position. You have to state that at some point. And your opening position is ambitious, and you know that. So you are probably going to have to make concessions and give in on some demands. So what we're doing here is planning in advance how that's going to happen and how you're going to do that in a way that helps you. Concessions are a good way to move the negotiation along and to make steady progress. So that is one of the secondary functions of using concessions. It helps you control the flow of the conversation. You can learn a lot about your counterparty by the way he makes concessions. And sometimes it's the most important thing you do know about him. So before we get into it, one note, one best practice, or one avoiding the worst practice. Concessions are the strike. Concessions are proactive. They are the way you implement your plan. They are not surrender. It's not a sign of weakness. This is how you win. So your concessions, they have to match or align with your negotiating style. If you talk collaborative, but every time you are asked to make a concession, you act like you're being asked to donate a kidney, then your potential partner might think that you are not super cooperative. And this brings up the point of who goes first. I alluded to this several times, but let's put it right on the table. The whole subject of concession flows from this first decision of who goes first. You have a choice. You can drop anchor, and you can anchor and make the first offer, or you can wait for him to make the first offer. If you deliver your opening offer first, if you deliver your L, you are anchoring the conversation around those variables. And he's got 3 choices. He can react to your offer, and he can accept that you've set the range. He can reject the offer completely and walk away and terminate the negotiation. Or he can re-anchor. He can ignore the fact that you've dropped anchor, and he can just make what amounts to the initial proposal of his own in a way that's more favorable to him. The catch is you have to drop anchor. It's not literal. You have to figuratively drop anchor, which means not only do you choose the point, but you have to let it go. Remember, anchors only work if you drop them. You can't hold on to your initial offer for too long, especially if you've chosen a collaborative style. If you say, I'm going to be super collaborative, and then you come out with an aggressive opening offer and you don't move off of it for a long time, then he's going to think that maybe you are not super cooperative. So let's look at the 3 ways to map your concession style and plan out and measure how you're doing. The first one is about style. The second one is about flow or momentum. And the third one is about the value package. They're not mutually exclusive. You can use them all together. They're just different viewpoints. So first one is the style view. And you will hopefully recognize this chart of the 4.5 styles. And because we're talking about where we want to end up, we're including the compromiser style. On the left y-axis, satisfying your own needs, and on the bottom x-axis, satisfying his needs. Pattern 1, you're moving from a competitor to a compromiser. Now, here's the important thing about concessions. You're planning all this by where you want to end up. You're working backwards. So in pattern 1, maybe I want to end up as a partner. Maybe I want him to represent me in another country, or maybe I want to work together with him to produce something that he has the technology on and I have the market for. So I'm going to end up as a compromiser. And I've decided, because I am an American from New York, that my best bet is to open as a competitor with a fairly aggressive opening offer. So I start out aggressive, and I make and he's going to say, no, that's too much. So I make a concession. And my concession is tied to me performing less, to providing less services, to the point of undermining the initial value proposition that I offered. So, okay, instead of being partners, I guess we can just do, you can just distribute for me when I have excess capacity. And that sounds like a real avoiding move. And he's going to say, no, no, absolutely not. And then you're going to move off that and close, go to your final position of being a compromiser. Your next concession restores the scope of the offer, but you backtrack slightly on price concessions and you accept something in the middle. Pattern 2, you're moving from collaborator to accommodator. Here your position is pretty weak and you don't have that much to offer. So you are staying away from the left side. You're not going to try to be competitive and you're not going to try to be avoiding because you're afraid he's going to avoid you. So you are coming in and you want this partnership. He's a big brand and this will be your big break. So you start off as a collaborator and you say, how great your connections are, how wonderful a partner you'll be. And he's like, eh. And then you're going to move down to compromiser. That's going to keep him engaged while you try to figure out what you can do on a non-cash basis in order to make yourself more interesting. You'll still have to make further concessions, and now you'll probably have to go down to your BATNA level on price or on some other variable you care about, but you should be able to stay up on the mid-level I level on a couple of variables that you care about, but he doesn't. And your job here is to find those variables that he doesn't care about, but mean a lot to you. Okay, those are just 2 patterns. The idea here is you plan your move based on where you're going to end up, and you try to avoid straight lines like moving from competitor to compromiser to yielder, because that doesn't end. You just keep going down, down, down. Okay, in this next section, let's look at concession mapping or flow or momentum negotiating. And the flow of the concessions, the way he's making concessions can tell you a lot. So I put up 3 pretty generic patterns, but once you see what this is, you'll be able to figure this out on your own. Pattern A, I call the anchor hugger. And this guy holds on to his opening offer for a long time, and then he makes a significant concession. The benefit is this may lead to an early win if you can convince the counterparty that he's serious. This is also what they'll do if they're vetting you, if they're trying to figure out what kind of person you are. They won't make any concessions for a long time, and then suddenly a light will go off that you're not a serial killer and you're not just going to take their money and run, and they will serious up their offer by making it much more favorable and making a big concession. If you do this, you got to be careful. The danger here is that once the concession starts, no one is going to believe this pattern. No one's going to believe this person when he or she says, this is the lowest I can go. They're always going to be skeptical about the bottom. Pattern B is the inverse of this. This is the fake bottom, and this is why people don't trust when you say, I've hit my bottom line. This looks reasonable because he starts with a smooth series of concessions. So pattern B guy or pattern B woman is very reasonable, very compromising. Sure, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. Oh, nope, can't do that. We're done. So this can create the illusion that he or she has hit rock bottom earlier than they really have. The danger, if the counterparty has an alternative and can credibly walk away, or can make it look like they can credibly walk away, then the fake N pattern crumbles into a yielder really quickly, and it's ugly. And last, we have the controlled descent, reduces prices or raises offer in a steady pattern. The advantage here is you can establish credibility and maintain his or her position as a good partner. This is also the pattern that the professional negotiators like salespeople and purchasers use. The disadvantage may have difficulty convincing counterparty that this N really is the final offer. And the last view is the bundle of value view. So you're going to package your variables into bundles to manage the way the other side sees value. And if you're using one of those tactics of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, or where you present them 2 offers that are of equal value to you, this is the mechanics behind these 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So the value package is going to look like this. You've got price, you've got quantity, and you've got time, and you've got what you'd like to get, your intermediate benchmark, and what you need, or there's no deal. Okay, so this is how you're going to package your variables. And this is why you want to do all your variables at once. You don't want to decide on one thing and then move to the next. So the first value package is your L. This is your opening offer. You have to do this. If you let him go, if you go first, you deliver your L, your opening offer. Variable 1, this is what you'd like to get. Variable 2 is what you'd like, and variable 3 is what you'd like. Don't compromise before you make your first offer. If he goes first, unless his offer has changed the deal significantly, you still have to open with your opening offer, your initial L. And it's hard, but you got to do this. Sorry. So offer 2, you're going to give ground. So notice variable 1 is still L, variable 2 has dropped from L to I, and variable 3 has dropped from L to I. So now you can acknowledge his opening offer, but you have delivered your L. Variable 3, you're shifting things up a little bit. You've dropped your offer on variable 1, but you've raised it back to the L level on variable 2, while variable 3, which you didn't care about much anyway, has dropped to your N level. 4, you are being beaten down, and this is not a negotiation. It's still within value range, but you've got 2 I's and an N, and you end up on your high priority variable. You're in the middle, which is okay, and then you're giving up a lot on variable 2 and 3, but you're still within value range. You're still within deal zone, so this is valid. The idea here is that by bundling different variables into packages of values that you can analyze in advance, you can give yourself more options, and you can maintain a steady flow of offers while you're controlling the pace. You're not letting things sit for 6 months as he ponders. You can say, here's option A and here's option B. And again, they're equal to you, but they might be different to him. Best practices for concessions. Concessions should match your style. You can appear stubborn or intransigent or somewhat nutty and still say you're collaborative or compromising. Never make unilateral concessions. If you give up something, then he must as well. And the reverse is true too. So you need to have enough variables, and you need to be able to make your variables granular enough that if he gives you a little insignificant BS concession, you can return the favor with a insignificant BS concession of your own. And conversely, if he makes a serious concession, you should be able to make the same move. Don't claim N too early or too often. A lot of younger negotiators do this and say, absolutely, that's my bottom. You're killing me. You're killing me here. Once you declare final offer, if you have to back down, it never stops. And they'll never believe you again. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you again soon.